Today, I'm going to introduce StrongLink software for consideration in this year's HPA Engineering Excellence Award. StrongLink is a storage resource and data management solution. It was designed to address the real problems faced by media technology companies and other organizations when trying to manage large quantities of data across multi-vendor storage environments. The problem is, there is no such thing as one-size-fits-all storage. And this problem becomes especially acute as data volumes reach into the multiple petabytes. Storage vendors will create silos, inevitably through proprietary file systems, or when they're trying to manage data movement and transparency of data movement with storage agents or symlinks or other hooks. But the reality is that the users in a traditional environment are mapped to the device. As the data needs to move to a different device, then that creates an issue. It either creates an issue of interruption of workflows, addition of complexity for the storage administrators, but most problematically, it also creates silos, which make cost rationalization very difficult. When data needs to move to lower cost storage and it interrupts workflows, guess what? It often ends up staying on the most expensive storage, which reduces effectiveness, it reduces utilization. This is really both a data management and a storage management problem. StrongLink approaches this by creating a vendor-neutral environment that bridges across the silos. So instead of mapping the user to the device, the users are mapped and their applications are mapped to the data. And this is done without vendor lock-in, without any kind of proprietary hooks or other mechanisms on the storage or in the file systems. And it's designed to be software that really will work with any storage type from any vendor across high performance, slower and cheaper and deeper performance, cloud, and even tape. In fact, the origin of this software began with a product that won the HPA award 12 years ago, which was a tape virtualization platform. We realized at that time that tape and archive was only part of the problem that our customers faced. And in fact, being able to manage seamlessly without interruption to user workflows, data across in a vendor neutral environment was an absolute requirement. And hence that was where the development of StrongLink began years ago. The key to this is to make it a data-centric or intelligent platform that is informed by the metadata. And by metadata, I mean multiple types of metadata. There's file system metadata, all of the basic attributes that you would see in a file system, from file name, path, permissions, and everything, to extracted metadata that might be in the headers of certain file types that could be relevant for triggering a workflow or in a query, or custom metadata, which a user may wish to apply to attach a job ID, a customer reference, or other an episode or a reel or whatever that will help them manage. Instead of just using file system naming conventions or a MAM, an external MAM by itself that doesn't have control of the storage, it enables the ability to manage this centrally. So what StrongLink is able to do then is take all of these metadata and aggregate them into the StrongLink metadata repository. And that becomes the brains or the intelligence that can drive policies for how many copies there are, where the data should live, when it should move. At the same time, also driving the policies of who should see the data, where they should see it, via which protocol. Because at the end of the day, what StrongLink is doing is creating a vendor-neutral global namespace that can accommodate both high bandwidth workflows, such as might be required for online editing, without being in the data path, but at the same time have the management and control of the data by policy across any other storage type, and to do so in a way that can be transparent to the users on the front side. So aggregating all of the metadata and then feeding them into the StrongLink metadata engines. And then through that, being able to manage in a vendor-neutral environment multiple copies of files, where they live, when they move. This is, from a user's perspective, they may only see a file system mount. And this is, of course, everything is keyed into the customer's Active Directory or other authentication. So they're managing the permissions just as they would on the data itself. There's no separate authentication system. Again, the design criteria for this platform was to be vendor neutral and really provide this as a tool set for our customers so that they can manage these multiple silos, but do so holistically. So a user may only see a mount point for their data, accessing it as they would with any file share. But the reality is this file may live in multiple storage locations. If you look into the StrongLink user interface, you'll see that this same file also lives on multiple different storage types. Copies that may be tiered there or migrated there, or simply to manage copies for protection purposes. In addition, you'll see that custom metadata has been applied to this file, which could be a project ID or other triggers that can trigger policy-based file movements. In addition, users are able to build queries to find files based on any combination of metadata. Maybe the query needs to look for active files versus inactive files, or files related to a particular project, which may be scattered across multiple different storage platforms, and to be able to take global action on that. StrongLink gives an administrator the power to take control of that data, but as a user over here, whether I'm in a mount point or if in some workflows people prefer a CLI, if I see that data, I am mapped to the data. Whether that data moves from one store to another or there's multiple copies, as a general user or an application, I see that mount point as persistent. This also applies in being able to manage multiple copies, moving data that might come in through landing in from a scanner or from other types of high performance workflow, that then copies can automatically be generated to move downstream for protection or for tiering or for other purposes, or to manage an offsite location, either in the cloud or in the case of some ransomware type protection, being able to disconnect copies and vault them on tape or cloud or elsewhere. This also can be extended into multiple sites, where StrongLink, what we call Galaxy DR replication, means that a primary data center instance of StrongLink can be replicated to other sites remotely. The metadata is replicated instantly as a change occurs. The data itself, all or parts of it, can be replicated asynchronously, and that's completely controlled by policy. StrongLink can start small. It's software that can install on VMs or on customer hardware according to a reference spec that we provide. But it also is a scale-out architecture with no limit to the volume in which it can scale. For example, an HA configuration is 3 nodes, no head node, not like a typical Linux cluster where there's a head node. All nodes are equal. All operations are distributed across and load balanced across the available nodes, so that there is no upper limit to the throughput, the speed, the volume of data, and the object count, the file count that StrongLink can manage. In use cases similar, the US Library of Congress, for example, is using StrongLink, and this is primarily media files. Their entire media library, many, many, many petabytes of data that where StrongLink was used to consolidate 50 different data silos and aggregate this into a new data center. And from there, replicate that to cloud, 17 petabytes in 2 instances in the cloud. And then now expanding in phase 3 of the project to other sites. They don't have to be identical. In fact, they don't know whether they want to use tape or not, and they don't have to make that decision now. StrongLink can adapt that at any time. So at the end of the day, what StrongLink provides to our customers is the ability to create a global namespace, a managed global namespace where different storage types and different workflows can be centrally managed. And at the same time, increase the productivity of users who don't have to be searching for data to do their jobs, where data can be staged and placed transparently behind the scenes, and as well as protected in multiple different ways. Thank you very much for your consideration. And I welcome the opportunity to have a deeper discussion on what StrongLink can do for this industry. Thank you so much.